Great new podcast, not with but on Elon Musk today, from the author of the book of Elon Musk. Musk himself reposting this. How interesting. Today I'm going to feature a few Tesla-centric highlights. Highly recommend you guys watch the full thing with the link in the description, but if you don't have the time or just want to hear some thoughts, stick around.
I have this interesting theory. He's got like different stages of who he's been over the last 30 years since he started Zip2 in like 1996, where initially he was just grinding on software companies. And I think at that point he was just mostly working on software and sales. But then there was this stage between 2001-ish and 2010 where he just didn't want to be CEO, but he was forced into the position of being CEO, and he would go on interviews basically talking about how he really didn't want to be CEO. And then somewhere around 2011, 12, 13, he just stops talking about that. I think most people just haven't studied him and seen that transition. But I think that there was like different evolutions of him. And I'd be curious to know what kind of made that switch.
He is at core an engineer and a product guy, right? And Zip2 and PayPal both were such product-driven companies that sort of an engineering approach could make the company successful. And they were both relatively short duration companies. Like they sold in the first, I think it was 5 or 6 years in the case of Zip2 and like 2 or 3 years in the case of PayPal, but that was a lot of life that lived very quickly. And so
this is an interesting point for those who don't know too much of Musk's background. X.com merges with PayPal, online financial services, nothing to do with hardware. Zip2, online directions, maps, nothing to do with hardware. They did move very quickly. The exits and or sales did happen very fast. And Musk found himself in his 20s, sitting on a mountain of cash, wondering where to from here. This is where most people retire or go live on a beach for the rest of their lives. And Musk decides to risk it all, not on another software startup, but hardware, rockets and electric cars, almost guaranteed to lose every cent. This is a key insight into Musk's mentality. How many people watching this, let's just say you got $100 million in the bank, then decide to put it all on the line, pursuing multiple impossible projects?
That's just a fundamentally different thing than Tesla and SpaceX, where you have to create alignment and vision and product iterations over like a decade plus. And he has this great line where he's like, I realized you couldn't be fully in control of the product unless you were also in control of the company. And you do see that in, Steve Jobs and Wozniak, where like eventually Jobs became CEO, even though, or became sort of sole controller of the company, even though he and Woz started it as collaborators, because he's like, I need sole visionary control of this product. And I think Elon is kind of the same way. He says he calls it a moral error early in Tesla, where he was like, I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. I wanted to sort of control the company without running the company. And that was that kind of like 2002 to 2008 era, where Tesla was just off to a really messy start, where he was providing the funding. He was chairman of the board. Martin Eberhard was the CEO, but he had was sending him opinions and product ideas and like demands and all this stuff all the time. And it was just chaotic. And eventually when Tesla was like on the verge of death in 2008, Elon was like, I
know there was that inflection point where basically Martin knew the cost of a Roadster, and Elon went to like the engineers that were on the line or, were working on it, and basically asked for a line item breakdown of exactly what the costs were. And I think Martin Eberhard said something on the order of the Roadster cost like $120,000 to make, and the actual number was closer to $150. Yeah. And Elon knew the number, and Elon knew that Martin knew the number. Yeah. And he thought that basically there was like a permanent break in trust.
Yeah, and I think that was after a period of realizing that they didn't actually know the number. They were like, what is this thing that we are selling cost? And like Martin Eberhard didn't know. It's like, all right, they both went and tried to figure it out. And yeah, that was a very ugly period. That was at the end of a whole bunch of kind of disagreements and challenges that they'd been through. But it did push Elon into that position of like, I have to be CEO. I don't want to be. It comes with a lot of chores. It comes with a lot of responsibilities. You're at the nexus of everything. But if I want this company to be successful, I have to fully internalize and take responsibility for it. And that's what he did, even though he was also in the same position at SpaceX. And the fact that both of these companies are improbable, iconic, and that he funded and led them both in parallel is like, I wrote in the introduction of the book, it's like running a 2-minute mile twice at the same time. It is just so improbable and so it is such a higher degree of difficulty than most people can conceive of. And the fact that it worked is still unbelievable. Balaji, his blurb on the book is like, the better you are, the better you realize how good Elon is. And that is like, which is why Mark Andreessen and Brian Armstrong and you and me and so many people are like, how does he do it? What is he doing differently?
Do you think?
Would that mean the inverse is also true? The worse you are, the worse you think Musk is? That might explain the unemployed Reddit moderators claiming that Elon's a fraud, a liar, a con artist, a fake engineer, an idiot. He's not smart. I think one of the most fundamental points to understand here is that Musk did two impossible things at the same time. Has there ever been another example of somebody? By the way, the answer to this is no. Doing something like SpaceX at the same time they're building Tesla hasn't happened. This proves that Musk has extraordinary ability, not just extraordinary ability, but a uniquely extraordinary ability to do impossible things, not one after another, but at the same time. And it's not that we have one or two examples. The success of SpaceX has been absolutely incredible, monumental. The same is true of Tesla, who still today are the only company making money selling electric vehicles at scale. I'll say that again. There's one company on the planet selling reasonable volumes of electric vehicles to consumers today, making money doing so. There's also only one company who has a mass scale data flywheel, currently approaching 10 million vehicles collecting data, who've simultaneously used this data to develop a vision-only general solution to autonomy. SpaceX is the only company regularly reusing orbital class boosters. Last year, Blue Origin, second place, we really do need a telescope to see SpaceX, achieved this feat for the first time a decade after SpaceX first landed a booster. And much like on the back of an extremely successful electric vehicle company, Tesla, they're able to develop general autonomy. SpaceX, on the back of an extremely successful, dominant launch business, was able to develop Starlink. Peerless, in a league of its own, global internet covering every square inch of the earth, growing rapidly. It's not just home broadband too, but also cell service. Musk also acquired Twitter a few years ago. Let go of, call it 80% of the totally useful, very necessary employees at the company. Everyone said Twitter was doomed. Elon doesn't understand social media, doesn't understand software, doesn't understand people, forgetting his early roots. And the miraculous turnaround of X, formerly known as Twitter, was revealed. Profitability had soared. Anyone who's been using Twitter, now X, for years will have seen the massive increase in features and functionality. Then Bro decides to join the AI race a little late with XAI. We've seen the incredible capabilities of Grok. The guy never gives up, has an extraordinary multi-decade cross-domain track record of absolutely crushing it. At this point, how could anyone who isn't completely brain dead bet against this guy ultimately achieving his long-term goals? How many impossible things does one guy need to pull off before people stop doubting and saying, oh, well, despite the track record of doing multiple impossible things over multiple decades in multiple industries, multiple technologies, this time he's going to fail at this new project. The fact that both Tesla and SpaceX not only survived, but have gone on to thrive and dominate is extraordinary. That it happened at the same time is just staggering.
I think that he underestimated or misestimated the likelihood of success with Tesla and SpaceX. I know he's been quoted as saying that he thought that each of them had a roughly 10% chance of success, whatever success is.
Yeah.
But then because both of them work, the probability of that one, like in 100 outcome actually occurring is, asymptotically small.
Yeah, I think we're in a good, a very lucky universe in the multiverse, maybe, of like where both of them happen to work. Like the timeline is being good to us.
Has there been any other examples where he overestimated likelihood of failure?
He was probably being kind to himself, I think.
I personally, had I been assessing the probability of SpaceX and or Tesla being successful, knowing what I now know, how difficult the challenges were, I would have given them well under 1%, less than 1 in 100 chance. Now, with Musk at the helm, knowing what I know about Musk and his track record now, I'd probably say a higher than 10% probability. But if I didn't know anything at the time, you tell me someone's going to start a space company, try and develop reusable rockets, and then there's Tesla with electric vehicles, and they'll be doing both things at the same time, I would have said, bro, come on. Ain't no way. But with the benefit of hindsight and seeing what Musk has done with these two companies, I think the odds of success on any major project he's undertaking, especially if it involves any form of engineering, at this point, got to be better than a coin toss, regardless of what he's pursuing.
In retrospect there, of like being realistic that these companies have low odds of success. I mean, nobody had started a successful car startup in 100 years in America. and space launch company is like an unprecedented category. So like 10% probably was overestimating the odds of success, especially if you stack them on top of each other. And even, the greatest venture capitalists in the world, like knew Elon, saw him be successful with Zip2 and PayPal. And then he came around and pitched this and they were like, yeah, like Mike Morris at Sequoia, like made a bunch of money with him in PayPal, and Elon comes around pitching Tesla and he's like, sorry, bro, like not going to happen. And, luckily Elon was in a position to fund these companies until they were, it's still not quite undeniable, but that he was able to get them to the point where it was clear that additional resources would create, subsequent breakthroughs and make them successful. Your question, he's off on estimates all the time, like overestimating success and underestimating success and compressing timelines. Like, I think one of the most interesting things that I kind of see you probably do the same thing is like creating short timelines that he says have a 50% probability of being made. And that's such an interesting reframe from like, we want to prevent any chance of failure and choose timelines that we know are successful, to I want a short timeline that I think has a 50% chance of being successful. And, we're going to miss a lot of the time, but we're going to achieve a lot more than we would if we gave ourselves a timeline that was very comfortable to beat.
It's also interesting he actually frames it that way, because he's just by default saying that most of the time, or like a lot of the timelines, we're just not going to achieve in the first place. But I also know it's just this forcing function to make everyone move faster.
The purposeful 50% timeline thing is actually a really good example of a meta that goes across his whole operating philosophy, which is encouraging or allowing small failures in order to make the whole like more robust. He's really focused on increasing the learning rate of his companies and moving ever closer towards this more perfect product. And the sort of quote that encapsulates this is, failure is essentially irrelevant unless it's catastrophic. And having a high iteration rate and giving young engineers like huge responsibility and pushing program timelines and pushing iteration speed, all of these things sort of create these small failures that make the end product better, because those failures are instructive. It shows you, where something breaks. He calls it building the box in the sort of rocket program, right? So you want to push each variable to failure so that you know where it fails, so that you know where the outer limit of performance of the material or the system is. And then you just want to be just like a scooch inside of it to cover for some variability. But if you're in the very comfortable center of the box, you have no idea what your actual true range of performance is. And in the case of something like Starship, you're giving up huge amounts of economics if you're over engineering for redundancy and safety to a degree that you don't even understand, because you've never pushed the system to the limit.
He also had a very interesting philosophy at the start of SpaceX, where he would think about like future revenue as, per day. And I think he estimated at roughly like $10 million per day every single day that they delayed of lost future revenue. He famously had this situation where at one point he like flew a little part on a private jet to Quaj. It cost like $100,000 or something, because he could basically make 100 times more money in the future, 15 years later.
No, he's very... Where he's frugal and where he spends lavishly is really interesting. And it only makes sense through, as you point out, the lens of the time, right? Like the opportunity cost of time is absolutely massive. It's the fundamental currency of everything that we're doing. It's how we live our lives. It's how entrepreneurs like drive their companies. But people tend to be sort of penny wise and pound foolish about focusing on the currency and wasting time in order to save small amounts of money.
This is a really excellent point. And we're about to see another example of this play out with the Terafab project, the collaboration between SpaceX, Tesla, and xAI. As a quick reminder, yesterday there was some reporting from Bloomberg claiming that Musk wants to move ahead with the Terafab project at light speed, pushing for estimates and all sorts of other things for potential suppliers to get this project moving. I covered this at the time and said, well, no shit, Sherlock. Imagine that, moving as fast as fucking possible on this enormous opportunity that is extremely time critical. Turns out Elon Musk saw some of this commentary today. Here's what he said after the Bloomberg journalist shared the reporting, pointing out that Terafab is in fact moving ahead at the speed of light. Wow, what an amazing revelation, given that I literally said exactly this in the Terafab announcement with a facepalm emoji. Yeah, thanks Ed and Bloomberg for letting us know that they're actually serious about this project and they will be moving ahead with this project as fast as fucking possible. He also added a repost of the joint announcement with Intel. When Elon Musk shares a goal, he is, in fact, serious. Anytime you see Musk say, this is something that we're aiming for, this is our goal, this is our mission, he is serious. You can take him literally. maybe not some of his shit posts on X, but when he's discussing a company, their ambitions, a terawatt per year of compute via the Terafab project, a mass driver on the moon, colonizing Mars, these are serious goals. Building hundreds of millions, if not a billion plus humanoid robots per year, serious goal. Millions of robotaxis, serious goal. X money to disrupt the global financial services industry in a full circle moment, serious goal. As we heard, Musk, when he makes a prediction about a timeline, he's aiming to be right roughly 50% of the time, which, spoiler alert, means that he's going to miss roughly 50% of those, sometimes too soon, sometimes too late. But you cannot have any uncertainty as to whether or not the goal itself is serious. The timeline may not be perfectly accurate, but the goal is the end game. It is the target. It's what he's aiming for. And with the track record, no sane person can possibly be betting against this guy ultimately achieving these goals. So with that in mind, I'd just like to close by reminding everybody, the Terafab project aims to produce more chips than the entire planet produces today. The scale of this is utterly absurd, and that's just Earth-based production. There is a serious goal of developing capacity on the moon, having a mass driver on the moon, and launching AI satellites from the moon, from a massive, essentially a gigantic railgun, the mass driver, at truly obscene scale. In service of this utterly ridiculous but serious goal, SpaceX to IPO quite soon, presumably raise a truly astronomical amount of cash, and, referencing some of the earlier content from the podcast, move as fast as fucking possible. Whatever it takes to get the job done a day earlier, 2 days earlier, a week earlier, a month earlier, they'll do. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.